One of the thugs puts his arm around Myung-woo and asks for the subsidy that Myung-woo received for becoming a hunter, saying it's to pay for his debt. Myung-woo looks for it in his bag, and the thug immediately grabs it when he sees it, claiming it won't be enough to pay off all of his debt. Just how much is Myung-woo's debt to be treated like that? The thugs usher the tearful Myung-woo to the van. A panicked Yoo-jin asks if they're loan sharks, and where they're taking Myung-woo. The thugs angrily glare at Yoo-jin, saying it's none of his business. Yoo-jin pales with wide eyes and a fake smile. He can only say that he wants to come along. Desperate times make you say weird things. And where's Sung-in? The van moves, and Yoo-jin and Myung-woo are with the thugs inside it. Sitting beside one another, Yoo-jin whispers to Myung-woo. Still pale, Yoo-jin says that Myung-woo has borrowed money from scary people. Myung-woo tearfully murmurs that Yoo-jin didn't have to come along, since he doesn't owe them money. Forgetting to whisper, Yoo-jin says he can't let Myung-woo be taken alone. Suddenly, the thug beside Yoo-jin asks if Yoo-jin knows Myung-woo, and if he also had his awakening. Surprised, Yoo-jin admits that he is an F rank. Myung-woo starts to say that Yoo-jin is the brother of Haeun's guild master. Still, Yoo-jin quickly covers Myung-woo's mouth, and instead says that he's childhood friends with Myung-woo. It seems like Yoo-jin has a plan, since he doesn't want to reveal his connections. He claimed he heard how they were hiring F-rankers and wanted to check it out. The thugs laugh, saying it's perfect, and offer a job of mining mana stones. The thugs explain that they don't discriminate like most guilds. Yeah, right, you clearly act like thugs in broad daylight. Yoo-jin acts shocked, and a thug asks him if he's in. Yoo-jin immediately answers yes. Yoo-jin happily admits that he found them scary, but it turns out that they're really nice. All the thugs in the van laugh at this and tell Yoo-jin to sign a contract. Yoo-jin smiles as he claims that he didn't know getting a great job would be so easy. Yoo-jin may be smiling right now, but he knows this mining contract is a scam. They would take 70 to 80% of the earnings under the pretense of a protection fee. Yoo-jin would really win an award for acting. If one is unlucky, they'll get hurt inside the dungeon or, worse, killed. Yoo-jin concludes that this is probably how Myung-woo lived his life without reaching his full potential. Bro, and it's good that you're now there to help Myung-woo get it. One of the thugs proclaims that all Yoo-jin has to do is pick up anything that looks valuable, and he'll be rich in no time. Yoo-jin smiles, saying it sounds pretty straightforward. He then asks them where their guild office is located, and one of them says it's in Myeonmok. Yoo-jin exclaims that Myeonmok is a lot closer than he thought. They reach a 3-floor white old building, and Yoo-jin exclaims that Hope Errand Services is a great name. Myung-woo holds onto Yoo-jin's shoulder, while one of the thugs tells him to come in. Yoo-jin kept chatting, saying that the building may look run down, but he felt hope surging in. He then comments on how their office is on the 2nd floor, and is about to comment about the stairs, but he suddenly gets kicked in the back. That surely hurts. Yoo-jin plops towards the office floor and asks what the kick is for, but Myung-woo expresses alarm as he gets kicked. Yoo-jin tries to stand up, but he is held back by one of the thugs. The thug sarcastically apologizes for dragging him there when he doesn't even owe them money. Then, he says that Yoo-jin should have known better because they won't be able to leave until they say so. You thugs should let him go if you're really sorry. Yoo-jin supports the battered Myung-woo. Myung-woo cries as he apologizes for dragging Yoo-jin to his mess. Before Yoo-jin could reply, he was dragged to his sofa to have him sign a contract. The guild master of the thugs commands Yoo-jin to place his fingerprint in the paper, and they'll leave him with 20% of whatever he makes minus the fees. He claims this is already a generous offer, since he doesn't owe them any money. The contract is enchanted with a D-rank curse, making Yoo-jin unable to bail out. There's nothing generous in this offer. Another thug forces Myung-woo to put his print on the contract. Yoo-jin sees this and asks a favor to compare his contract with Myung-woo, saying he'll feel cheated if they get the same terms. The thugs stare at him, then laugh at how thorough he is. They gave Myung-woo's contract to Yoo-jin, and Yoo-jin confirmed that Myung-woo only gets 10%. The thug claims all of that will be put on paying for his debt. Yoo-jin says it is basically a slave contract, as he holds the top of the contract with 2 hands. Yoo-jin asks them if they really think they can scam his friend like this and rips the contract into 2. This shocks the thugs, and they ask about the curse. Lol. No curse would work on our MC. A D-rank debuff curse activates after Yoo-jin tore the contract. Still, It was quickly cancelled out by his L-rank curse resistance. Yujin grips the sofa for support and kicks the guild master. Yujin clutches the guild master's head, making the guild master think that Yujin isn't actually an F rank. Yujin whams the guild master's head to the ground, and Yujin admits he's only an F rank with items that makes fighting fairer. Pay to win, indeed. The other thugs are angered, claiming that Yujin will not be able to get out of there alive. Yujin calmly pulls out his phone, and a thug says it's too late to call the cops. Yujin smugly says he's not calling the cops since he already called in a long time ago. A locked metal door cracks open and crumbles as Sunghan opens it with his two bare hands. One of our MC's bodyguards is finally here. The metal door falls with a thump, shocking the thugs inside. Sunghan raises his fist. As one thug claims there's only one guy. A single guy can easily destroy the building you're in. Sunghan punches the thug, and with a whoosh, the thug flies and falls to the ground with a loud thud. Sunghan looks back at Yujin, saying he's there to get Mr. Han out. The thugs curse at their predicament. Meanwhile, Myungwoo asks how, and Yujin says it was easy, since he discreetly called Sunghan once they got into the car. Yujin just narrated where they were being taken, to make it easy for Sunghan to find them. So that's why he's chatty on the way. Sunghan just smacks on any thug that gets close to him. One thug pulls out a dagger and rushes towards Sunghan. Really? A dagger versus an A rank? Myungwoo screams for Sunghan to watch out. The thug stabs, but instead of hurting Sunghan, the thug murmurs his disbelief. He only managed to cut the clothes, but the flesh remained unscathed. Sunghan's flesh is a literal shield from minor injuries. Sunghan raises a hand and says that the thug should have brought something that can cut an A ranker. He flicks the thug with a finger, and the thug hits the floor hard. Another thug recognizes that this person is Sunghan Kim from the Heian Guild. Sunghan sighs as he looks at his destroyed clothes and commands them to kneel. Everyone plops to the floor, and Sunghan asks if Myungwoo is hurt by them. Myungwoo looks at the kneeling thugs and says he wasn't really hurt. Myungwoo now feels bad for the thugs, to the point that he forgot how they kicked and hit him. Sunghan asks Yujin what he should do with them. Yujin looks at some papers, saying an eye for an eye. Yujin then brings out a golden-colored paper, commanding the guild master to sign the S-rank contract. The man looks at the agreement, saying that they have to work for 50 years and they'll only get 10% of the profits. It is a total rip-off. Yujin smiles as he claims it's a generous offer since they don't owe him any money. Oh, how the tables have turned. The guildmaster says it's a slave contract, but Yujin only throws papers at the man. The guy looks at one of the papers, and Yujin says he found all of these in the guildmaster's cabinet. All of those papers were contracts made with at least a dozen of F-rankers. Yujin wonders if everyone still has all of their limbs, while the guildmaster only smiles, asking who would care. He claims they're not liable, since they all signed the consent form, and half of those guys are still alive. Wow, such trash exists. Yujin doesn't let the man finish and kicks him in the head. Yujin says they are scum and asks the guy if he tossed all those F ranks to dungeons because they are only F rank, and there's a lot of them they could lure. Angered, Yujin lectures them that F rankers are still living human beings. He then declares that it's time for them to taste their own medicine, even though he really wants to throw them in an A rank dungeon. To get out of it, one of the thugs apologizes that they got it now, and asks if Yujin can cut them some slack. Yujin grins and pats the man's head, but instead of forgiving them, Yujin squeezes the man's head. He then says that they wouldn't mind paying for their crimes since they get it. Then Yujin tells Sunghan to take them away. On the way home, Yujin slumps into the backseat beside Myungwoo. Sunghan reports to Yuyun about what happened. The earnings from the labor will be used to compensate the victims. That wraps them up. Myungwoo thanks Yujin, but Yujin brushes it off. Myungwoo says it wasn't nothing, since Yujin has already saved him twice, and tears drip from his face. Yujin tries to calm Myungwoo down. Myungwoo was so thankful that he hugged Yujin, saying that Yujin is his hero. Yujin tries to get Myungwoo off him by reminding him that he should also thank Sunghan. Though, Sunghan only tells the two to put on their seatbelts. Safety first. Yujin went off to see director Seok as they got back. He threw a tantrum by lying on the floor by the door to make the guy give Yujin a dorm room under the pretense of being Yerem's legal guardian, and Yujin was assigned a dorm room. Yujin really went to great lengths to get a dorm room. Yujin and Myungwoo enter the dorm, and Myungwoo says the place is like a fancy apartment, Jin says they have 4 bedrooms, as Myung-woo exclaims his disbelief in being able to stay in a place like this during their training. Jin asks Myung-woo if he can cook and clean because non-guild members can only stay there if they are housekeepers. Jin suggests that Myung-woo pretends to be his housekeeper so that he can stay there even after the training. Jin says Myung-woo doesn't really have to do any housework, only so that he can stay till he finds his own place. That's really clever, Jin. Jin couldn't finish what he was saying as he saw Myung-woo's face filled with tears again. Myung-woo rushes to Jin for a hug, saying he's an awesome friend. After some time, Myung-woo finally settled down. Myung-woo now in his own room and sleeps, talks about how he'll clean up and asks Jin if he wants dinner or a sponge bath first. Myung-woo talks like a waifu in his sleep. Jin decides to go out and get his stuff from Yoon's place. He wonders how Yoon will react when Jin suddenly gets surprised to find Sunghyun behind the door. Panicked, Jin asks if Sunghyun was sent by his brother and if he was being grounded. Wow, it really is the other way around with these brothers. Sunghyun stammers as he says no. He tells Jin that he's there for something else, as he points his thumb outside. Jin was perplexed when Sunghyun then asked him to come with him. What could Sunghyun want? Inside a bar, a staff member falters as he greets Sunghyun and Jin. Sunghyun wasted no time asking if the staff knew Minnie Kim, to which the staff member bowed and confirmed that they had been notified of the reservation. Some of the other customers seemed to mistake them for gangsters as they passed by. On reaching their table, they were served the most popular dishes on the menu. This will be a memorable evening for sure. Jin looks around as he wonders why Sunghyun brought him there since the place seems too hip for Sunghyun. Sunghyun explains that Minnie Kim, a guild member around Jin's age, recommended the place. Sunghyun then urges Jin to wind down and seriously enjoy himself. Jin can only awkwardly agree to it. Jin grabs a soju bottle and asks Sunghyun what he wants to discuss. Taking the bottle from Jin, Sunghyun says he wants to apologize before it is too late. Sunghyun pours Jin a drink and admits that he didn't like Jin at first, thinking he's a useless distraction for their guild master. Jin couldn't help but wonder if this was an apology. But then Sunghyun continued, saying that he was sorely mistaken because it turns out that Jin was actually a decent guy. Saying this with a smile, Jin can only look at Sunghyun blankly. Wow. Sunghyun had a change of heart about Jin. Sunghyun recalls how Jin returned to help him with the dungeon break, how he earned Ms. Park's trust and took care of her issues, and how he even risked his life to save his friend. Sunghyun reveals that he now trusts Jin to watch over his back. Jin pales, thinking that Sunghyun got it all wrong, but then realizes this could be a chance to bond and say the keyword. Jin clinks his cup to Sunghyun's and speaks his appreciation while thinking Sunghyun is on his list tonight. This reminds me of Jin's initial attempts with heart hand signs. Sunghyun comments on how Jin seems to know what to do. He asked if Jin was planning a sting operation like that one with the broker deal before. Jin just agrees and says he was investigating something undercover. Sunghyun reminds us that this operation is dangerous for a single F-ranker. While Jin says he knows that his brother wouldn't let him get into danger, it turns out that Yoon is more overprotective than he'd like. You got to regress because of your brother's overprotectiveness. Sunghyun says it's because he's the only family left. Sunghyun relates that his grandfather raised him when his parents weren't around. He used to visit during the holidays, even as he grew up. Sunghyun's awakening also occurred while protecting his grandfather during the dungeon shock. Sunghyun is also grateful to their guildmaster because he ensured that Sunghyun could support his grandfather until he passed away from an illness last year. And Yoon even recruited a caregiver with healer skills from abroad just for them. Sunghyun tells Jin that his brother treasures family bonds more than anyone. He reminds Jin to be understanding, even if his brother's concerns can be excessive. Jin agrees and thanks Sunghyun for being an understanding right-hand man for his brother. Jin should really put some effort into understanding his brother's protective nature. They clink their cups once more, and Jin expresses his gratitude. Sunghyun then comments on how Jin can hold his liquor. Jin says that he's actually a lightweight with embarrassing habits when drunk. Jin thinks of using liquor as an excuse to say the keyword. Sunghyun comments that for a lightweight, he drank a lot. Jin was shocked to see that he had already drunk numerous liquor bottles. He is confused, but then realizes that he can never get drunk because of his poison resistance skill. Thinking he can't say the keyword sober, he turns the skill off. That's a bad idea. The skill suddenly deactivates and Jin drops the cup he is holding. Yujin suddenly becomes red, realizing that turning the skill off made the liquor hit faster. Yujin wobbles and his head falls to the table. You forgot to say the keyword. The next day, Yujin wakes up in his bed with a headache. He had no idea that the skill would turn off like that. A man comes to the room holding a wash basin and offers it to Yujin. Yujin was shocked to consciousness by this scene. The man is none other than Sungmin Kim. Yujin springs up as Sungmin reminds Yujin that today is his first day of basic training. Yujin wonders what Sungmin is doing in his bedroom and finds that there are now 4 individuals under his influence, and Sungmin is now one of them. This means that he could say the keyword, and it worked. Good job, drunk Yujin. But Yujin is still confused as to why Sungmin would be in his room. Sungmin asks Yujin if he doesn't remember anything from last night. Sungmin comes near to take a look and only smilingly comments how Yujin must have a hangover. Yujin was about to say something embarrassing, but he was stopped when Sungmin placed a kudzu juice into Yujin's mouth. Sungmin explains it's for Yujin's hangover. Then he starts doing the necessary stuff, but at the same time uncomfortable to Yujin. For his hangover. This is seriously next level. Yujin rejects the potty and asks why Sungmin is like this. Sungmin looks at Yujin and says that he really doesn't remember. Sungmin then retells what happened. With Yujin's head on the table, Sungmin asks if he's okay, and tells him they should get home. Yujin wobbles, grips Sungmin's wrist, and says he has something to tell. Yujin was serious and told Sungmin, "I love you," while all red in the face. This makes Sungmin question Yujin, but Yujin only rubs his head, saying he doesn't know what's wrong with him. Yujin asks Sungmin if he has already told him "I love you" like a blushing fool while covering his mouth. Still not yet done, Yujin says it's pretty wild. Once again, saying that he really has to tell Sungmin "I love you." And Sungmin retells how he heard Yujin say "I love you" 3 more dozen times at that night. The lesson here is alcohol doesn't give you courage. It makes you lose your inhibitions. Let's all learn from Yujin's experience. Drinking responsibly is the key. Hearing this, Yujin bows and apologizes to Sungmin. Sungmin says it's okay, and it actually made him happy. Thinking that this was Yujin's embarrassing drinking habit, Sungmin was reminded of his grandfather. Sungmin would also helps out his drunk grandfather, as the old man proclaims to the world that he has the best grandson. His grandfather ranted that Sungmin is the best in his eyes, and asked Sungmin if he had ever told Sungmin that he loved him. Sungmin reveals to Yujin that he somehow reminded him of his grandfather, which was how he responded to Yujin's keyword. Yujin was shocked to learn that he reminds Sungmin of his grandpa, despite being in his 20s. Sungmin admits that it sounds strange, but Sungmin felt safe with Yujin, just like he felt when he was by his grandfather's side. This reminds Sungmin of how he tucked Yujin in as Myung-woo watched by the door. The feeling he felt made Sungmin want to do things for Yujin. Sungmin promises not to behave ridiculously around others and asks Yujin if he can visit him from time to check on him. Sungmin reasons that it's the least he can do in return for all his grandfather has done to raise him. Yeah, but Yujin isn't your grandfather. This makes Yujin think of his perfect caregiver title and if this is its actual effects. Yujin concludes that telling them "I love you" can serve as a reminder of someone who cared for them, which is different from a romantic perspective. The skill helps them see that person in Yujin. Yujin thinks this is why Yerim and Myung-woo are the same, while the effect on Yu-yoon is more substantial, since Yujin himself raised Yu-yoon when they were younger. Yujin bids farewell to Sungmin, while Myung-woo peeks while shivering. Once Sungmin was out, Myung-woo clung to Yujin, asking him what had happened. The door suddenly slams open on Yerim's arrival, breaking the door in the process. That power was too much. Yerim was too excited to have Yujin next door in the dorms. Yujin is brushing his teeth, with Myung-woo still clinging to him. He only tells Yerim that she should try knocking next time. Yerim doesn't say anything about the broken door. Instead, she grabs Myung-woo from Yujin. Yerim asks who the bum is, and Yujin calmly answers that the bum is his friend. Wow, something just left, and now it's Yerim. Adding Yu-yoon to the mix would make this more troublesome for Yujin. MC got the all-around raise. Yujin thinks about how the skill effectively brainwashes people, making them completely trust him. He wonders if this could be really dangerous, and why the system gave him such skills. But most of all, Yujin is relieved that he can easily activate his poison-resistant skill. After several days, Yujin compliments Myung-woo for getting better at cooking. Yujin looks at the food with amazement, saying Myung-woo didn't really have to cook for him every day, while Myung-woo says that it's the least he can do. Yerim agrees with Myung-woo and comments on how she is living separately. Someone asks where Sung-in is since he has been showing up daily with Jinseng. Another says Sung-in is with Yoo-yoon, and the two won't return for a few days. It's impressive how Yoo-yoon didn't badger Yoo-jin for not staying in the same space as him. Yoo-jin comments on how Yerim will soon do raids, and Yerim agrees and says she'll be rich in no time. And soon, she'll be able to buy a massive mansion for both her and Yoo-jin, and no Myung-woo to mooch off on Yoo-jin. She's just as bad as Yoo-yoon. Yoo-jin tells Yerim not to freeze the soup with her power and tells them to get along since they're going to boot camp together. This shocks both Myung-woo and Yerim. Yerim took it hard and unleashed a cold aura, saying she thought it'd only be her and Yoo-jin. Everyone has become possessive of our MC. The doorbell suddenly sounds and Yoo-jin uses that as an excuse to leave the two. He tells the two to behave themselves, and a man by the door comments on how vibrant it is to start the day. Yoo-jin is shocked to find Shimi and Siak outside with other staff. Shimi hands some documents to Yoo-jin, saying that the hunter orientation training starts today. He personally came there to fetch them because of a change in schedule. Because the theory class instructor was running late, this means they have to proceed to the practicum first. In the practical exercise, Yerim looks over, while Yoo-jin and Myung-woo are worried. They were reassured by Shimyeon that the practicum drill was simple. What they're looking at now is a cage filled with monsters. The cage bars start to rumble up, and monsters now surround them. Shimyeon's voice could be heard, telling them that all they had to do was kill all the monsters. Easy peasy, but it still looks horrendous. Yoo-jin yells it's ridiculous, exclaiming that for basic training, shouldn't they take down one at a time instead? On the side, Yerim is so relaxed, asking if that is all they have to do. Shimyeon laughs, saying that they aim to acclimate them to the presence of monsters, and they'll grow used to them in the process. Yoo-jin asks what kind of logic that is as the mole-like monsters approach them. Practice is the best way to learn. Yerim runs to where the monsters are, proclaiming that she'll wipe them all at once. She quickly stabs the monster in succession, making the huge ruckus. Myung-woo and Yoo-jin are a bit blinded by the show of Yerim's combat skills, with Yoo-jin commenting that Yerim is at least having fun. Yerim shows two monsters dangling on her spear, asking Yoo-jin if those would taste good on the grill. Adventurous food? Anyone? Yoo-jin reminds Yerim that she doesn't work for a barbecue joint and tells her to put those down. Yerim then remembers that she should try out some of her skills on the monsters. A woman comes in, commenting that Yerim is an S rank on another level for a rookie. Shimyeon greets the woman while the woman asks if sending many monsters for basic training isn't a bit dangerous. Shimyeon just says to not worry, and he is more concerned about how no monsters might be left for the other two. In the training room, Yerim makes a Christmas tree with much gusto, using fallen monsters. Yerim is just playing around now. Beneath the fallen monsters, a seagull monster wriggles out and lunges for Myung-woo. Yoo-jin yells for Myung-woo to stab it, but Myung-woo lets go of his spear and runs for it. The monster is catching up, and Myung-woo is in a panic. Before the beast can even tackle him, Yoo-jin grabs Myung-woo by the waist, and they dodge the attack. Yoo-jin tells Myung-woo never to let go of his weapon, and explains that the monsters are F-rank monsters called Fang Moles. He continues, saying those monsters have terrible vision and mostly just run straight towards you. To kill them, they just need to lunge the spear forward. Yoo-jin prepares to attack, telling Myung-woo to get up. Yoo-jin's walking encyclopedia skill is at it again. Shimyeon says that another reason for many monsters is Yoo-jin Han. He wants to see what Yoo-jin will do, since Yoo-jin seems exceptionally knowledgeable, not only of monsters. Shimyeon expresses his amazement with what Yoo-jin did with his contract with Yerim, saying it can be used as an industry-standard template. This also makes Shimyeon wonder if Yoo-jin is hiding something. Myung-woo compliments Yoo-jin for not getting scared like him, and he mentions how it feels like Yoo-jin has been doing these for years. This alarms Yoo-jin, thinking he'll be suspected. As the Fang Mole dashes, Yoo-jin throws his spear to pretend like a noob, and the monster starts chomping on Yoo-jin. Yoo-jin screams, saying he's scared too. Yerim comes to Yoo-jin's rescue, while Shimyeon thinks he might be wrong as well, and the Oscars goes to. After some time, they finish the practicum. Myung-woo slumps beside Yoo-jin, while Yerim is still energized and glad to use her skills. Myung-woo apologizes to Yoo-jin, and Yoo-jin comments how Myung-woo is really not cut out for combat. Yerim then smiles, saying she was a lot better out there. Yujin tells Yerim not to compare themselves, and that it's better if they all get along. The others really should stop treating Myung-woo like a piece of useless baggage. Shimyeon appears and compliments them for managing to survive their first introductory practicum. Shimyeon says that Yerim was, of course, flawless, while the other two were somewhat hopeless. Yujin acts up, saying he'll tell on Shimyeon to his brother. Yujin loves to practice nepotism. This is already the third time. Shimyeon then introduces their instructor for the theory classes, which is Professor Haeyeon Siak. Haeyeon introduces herself, and Yerim looks curiously, as she comments that she's a professor at a young age. Yujin recognizes Haeyeon, for she is the most authoritative person in dungeon studies. He remembers that Haeyeon is a genius who went to America and uncovered the principle of dungeon creation. He then says that she is Dr. White. Oh no, Yujin slipped right there. Haeyeon is pleasantly surprised to be called by this name, saying not many people know it. Yujin makes an excuse, saying he really is interested in this field, as he wonders if Haeyeon is not yet that famous. Haeyeon says that Yujin knows many things and that her uncle, Director Siak, has told her a lot about Yujin. This information bewildered Yujin as he realized that Haeyeon was the niece of Director Siak, since they even had the same last name. Shimyeon again adjusts his glasses, reassuring Yujin that this is not nepotism. Haeyeon says she'll stay at Guild Haeyeon for a research project, hoping to get along with Yujin. Yujin shakes her hand, saying he hopes the same, while imagining if his life will finally bloom. I doubt it will, and if it is, many will be heartbroken. Inside a dungeon, Yuyun asks Sunghan if they managed to get it. Sunghan confirms since he doesn't detect any vitals. They are looking at a giant red cat-like monster with a single horn on its head. They were able to defeat it because Yuyun was immune to fire damage. Yuyun lifts the monster's limb and Sunghan asks what they should do with it. Beneath the giant monster is a baby monster with the same features. The beast in the covers is finally making his appearance. The group is in their theory class with Dr. Haeyeon Siak. Haeyeon tells about dungeon history, the meaning of dungeon breaks and dungeon shock, how the Awakened came forth, the new technology gained from Mana Stones, and the establishment of hunters and guilds. And in Korea, S-rank hunters usually associate with corporations to have large guilds. Yujin already knows all of this, but sees the lesson as a good refresher, since Haeyeon is explaining things really well that can be easily understood. Haeyeon continues the lesson about awakened individuals, how stats and skills determine ranks, and how unique abilities can manifest as a form of self-defense. Looking at the details, Yujin thinks about how some information is still wrong. He remembers that skills are determined by a person's natural talent or environment. Is he planning to correct them? Haeyeon sadly asks Yujin if there's something wrong, since Yujin looks at Haeyeon like her professor used to. She asks Yujin if there's something wrong with the information she presents. Yujin scratches his head, looks away, and says he has a personal theory. Personal theory based on the future's findings. Well played, MC. He says the recent increase in skills unrelated to combat can mean that skills don't really have to do with self-protection. He explains that it only looked that easy because of the dungeon breaks, and there may be different factors to determine the abilities. Haeyeon looked at Yujin thoughtfully, while Yujin hoped that he didn't give himself away with what he said. Don't worry, Yujin, you're safe. Haeyeon sadly clasps Yujin's hand, and she exclaims how she's so impressed that Yujin is updated on the latest trends in the topic of skill manifestation. Haeyeon looks at Yujin so excitedly that she asks him to top with her for 10 hours after the class. Uncertain about how to respond, Yujin takes her attention from him by asking Yerim if she has any questions for the teacher. Surprised, Yerim hesitantly asks how much S-ranks makes. Haeyeon looks at Yerim with a smile, pulls out a money gun, and starts clicking it. Where has she been keeping that? Haeyeon poses with a raised money gun, firing away a lot of money. She enthusiastically says, S-rank hunters can make at least $10 million annually. Yerim looks at Haeyeon with stars in her eyes, while Yujin thinks about how Haeyeon brought a money gun just for this. A money gun is one of the best ways to flex your money. Yujin is relieved to get off the hook, while Haeyeon continues to shoot off money. Haeyeon continues to explain that S-rankers are so rare that you can easily count them with one hand per country. S-rankers are known for risking their lives in high-ranked dungeons and bringing loot from S-ranked dungeons like Mana Stones, rare plants and fruits, or even living monsters. In Yuyun's place, Yuyun reveals the monster he brought home from an S-ranked dungeon to his brother. The monster is a horned flame lion, and Yu Yun plan to tame and mount it. Yu Jin assesses the monster, noting its single horn on the forehead, fiery red fur, and fox-like tail. He remembers that the horned flame lion is a Tier 2 monster of the unicorn subspecies with high stats, nimble speed, and fire skills. It is a dangerous monster that even S-rankers have difficulty fighting on their own, and before them is an infant version of it. So cool. A magic beast for a pet. Yu Yun says it might not be tamed because all the standard taming method doesn't work, even with the owner's token. The owner's token is used to induce the target to accept the bearer of the owner's token as its master. I need that. Yu Yun holds the owner's token towards the horned flame lion, commanding it to get down. The red monster flinches and growls. Yu Jin says it's working, and it's about to come down. Trembling as it tries to fight the urge, the horned flame lion jumps down, but in an attacking position. Seeing this, Yu Yun shoves his brother to get back, and he releases black flames from his hands, causing a small explosion. Yu Jin was shocked, saying his brother didn't have to roast it alive. The fire and smoke disappear, but the horned flame lion is unscathed, since it is immune to fire. The horned flame lion continues its attack and slashes Yu Yun in the face. Wow, a kitty paw punch. This causes a crash, making Yu Jin scream his brother's name. With his clothes in bad shape, Yu Yun holds the monster by the nape, throws it inside a terrarium room, and locks it up. Yu Jin comments on how feisty it is and asks if Yu Yun is sure, even with the owner's token. Yu Yun looks at his clothes in dismay and says he'll maybe just get rid of it. Yu Jin asks if he means to put it in an auction. Yu Yun opposes this idea, saying he won't let the rival guilds take it. Yu Jin then shockingly asks if his brother is going to kill it. Yu Jin looks through the glass at the horned flame lion, thinking there's no other choice. Still, Yu Jin feels bad about it, since it would be the perfect companion for his brother if it was tamed. He appraises its stats, seeing that the horned flame lion is currently a C rank with the potential to become an A or even an S rank. The monster currently has its A rank fire resistance skill unlocked. While its 3 skills, Fire Breath, Fiery Dash, and Gigantification, can only be unlocked once the monster matures. That is potential right there. Please don't get rid of it. Yu Jin doesn't remember anyone who managed to tame a monster, even 5 years from now. Sadly, the system notifies him that the keywords have not influenced the target. Yu Jin is shocked, realizing that he can possibly affect even monsters. Now we're talking. This startles Yu Yun, but Yu Jin only kept thinking about how his brother would be unstoppable with the horned flame lion. Yu Jin calms down and asks Yu Yun if other guilds also have magic beasts that can serve as mounts. Yu Yun affirms, but those are all low-rank creatures, which is incomparable to the horned flame lion. Yu Jin smiles at his brother and says he'll try taming the horned flame lion himself. Yu Jin considers how they might hit the jackpot if they could tame the world's only high-tier mount. OP Lil Bro will soon get an OP sidekick. Monsters started existing because of the dungeons. While most are vanquished, there are still some instances where these monsters can be tamed. The most sought-after tamed monsters can be mounted, since it makes traversing large dungeons easier. Yu Jin exclaims that having one with fire resistance will be perfect for Yu Yun, since it can withstand Yu Yun's fire-related skills, and with its rank higher than the other monsters, Yu Yun would be more formidable once it's tamed. Big Bro is looking after Lil Bro. Of course, Yu Jin will also be rewarded with lots of cash as a bonus. Sometimes you can't help but think if money is the real intention. The horned flame lion growls at them, and Yu Yun asks his brother how he'll tame it. Yu Jin thinks for a bit and raises a ladle, with him and Yu Yun now wearing aprons. Yu Jin claims that they will start with tasty food. Yu Jin asks his brother what the monster eats. Yu Yun answers that it eats monster meat mixed with mana stones, and must consume at least 1 C-grade mana stone per meal. This shocks Yu Jin so much that he spits. It is a fact that a single C-rank mana stone costs 10 million won. That is almost $8,000. And that is only for 1 meal? That's crazy. The minced monster meat is sprinkled with a crushed mana stone, turning this into a luxury magic beast food. Yu Jin feels like he poured his heart and bank account into the meal. He pales as he imagines how feeding it 1 meal a day already costs 300 million won per month, over 3.6 billion won annually. And if it is provided for thrice a day, it'll be roughly 10 billion won yearly. This is only the food cost, while it's still an infant, and it doesn't include other maintenance costs. With Yu Jin still pale from thinking about the cost of taming a monster, Yu Yun reassures him that he'll be the one to pay for the food. The horned flame lion wags its tail as it happily eats, making Yu Jin think it is cute. Yu Jin starts thinking if the magic beast can understand if Yu Jin says the words, "I love you." He thinks his old keywords don't have to be verbatim to work. So Yu Jin thinks he can just express his affection whenever he feeds it. Yu Jin opens the sliding door to the terrarium room, thinking he should at least get close enough to feed it daily. The horned flame lion becomes wary of Yu Jin and dashes toward him to attack. A C-rank magic beast versus an F-rank hunter, Yu Jin was prepared and thought that now was the time to play. He pulls out his B-rank belt to catch the magic beast's bite. The horned flame lion kept biting on it, while the shocked Yu Yun watched over both. Yu Jin imagined how he did pet sitting as a part-time job, playing tug with a dog before, but it's different with the horned flame lion. They're playing the tug of death. A pet dog and a magic beast are way too different. Yu Jin holds onto the belt as the magic beast uses its strength and swooshes him around. Yu Yun then yells, worried for his brother's safety. They finally stop with the tug of death, and Yu Yun asks if Yu Jin is okay. Yu Jin ignores his brother's question and raises the owner's token, showing it to the magic beast. Yu Jin tells the monster that he is its new owner. The horned flame beast initially looks at it angrily, and changes its attitude into curiosity. The system appears and announces that Yu Jin's title of perfect caregiver has amplified the effect of the owner's token. The target is now starting to feel affection toward Yu Jin. The horned flame lion starts to purr and roll, making Yu Jin's heart thump. That magic beast is cute. I want one. Yu Jin happily claims that the horned flame lion can cuddle with him, while Yu Yun cautions that it is still a monster. The beast chomps on Yu Yun's hand, making Yu Jin worried. Yu Jin scolds the beast that it shouldn't bite people, but the monster only acts innocent in front of Yu Jin. Yu Yun looks at the beast, disappointed that his brother didn't check the bite on him. Yu Yun, being an S rank, wouldn't be injured by such an attack. He scratches his nape and tells his young that it's okay, since it's sweet to him. Lil Bro is looking for Big Bro's affection. He expresses that his brother can take care of it, even if it doesn't become a mount. He wants the monster to protect Yu Jin. Yu Jin smiles at Dis and says that he'll try his best. Thinking that taming monsters is way better than brainwashing people, Yu Jin imagines how he could tame more baby monsters that he could keep around him. This possibility might make him be acknowledged as a magic beast tamer or beastmaster. The magic beast is happy in Yu Jin's arms, and he says he'll take the little guy once he's ready. Yu Yun looks at him and asks if Yu Jin will not raise it there. Yu Jin replies that his room is big enough. Yu Yun asks his brother if he really plans to live separately. Oh, Yu Jin is making Lil Bro lonely. Yu Jin thinks he'll be locked up if he stays there, but he tells his brother that it would be better, since there's Myung Woo and Yerim. He sadly stops, seeing that his brother looks miserable. Yu Jin asks what is wrong, but Yu Yun is still bleak. Yu Yun answers that they finally made up, but they don't see each other often despite this. Yu Yun knows that his brother has his own life, but he thinks they could return to how things were before the dungeons. Yu Yun is like a little kid in front of his brother. Yu Jin remembers Sungmin's words about his brother. Yu Jin figures that his brother hasn't done anything wrong, and if there's anything to blame, it'll be the weird skill he got and the messed up world. Yu Jin affectionately pats Yu Yun's head, reassuring him that he'll live in both places. Yu Jin promises to hang out after the basic training, and then asks if his brother is free the following evening. Yu Yun answers that he can make time. Yu Jin then invites his brother to drink after the dungeon training, saying they never got a proper drink together since Yu Yun reached the legal age. Yu Jin imagined how they would have already shared many drinks if the world had been as peaceful as before. The invitation makes Yu Yun happy, and he says he's looking forward to it. Spending more time with Lil Bro will appease him. Yu Jin then remembers that he should give a name to the infant horned flame lion. Yu Jin smiles as he names the little guy Peace, since the world should be filled with more love and peace. Yu Jin thinks it is normal if his brother wants to hang out with him more often, and it has been a long while since they spent quality time together. It's a new day, and they are outside. People are bustling and murmuring near a dungeon portal. Yu Jin has a frozen smile, while his brother smiles happily. Yerim asks what is happening, while Myung Woo can only silently look over. Yerim questions why the guildmaster has to accompany noobs like them to the dungeon, while frustratingly pointing a finger to Yu Yun. The latter only smiles, saying he's looking forward to today and can't wait. Oh, the Guildmaster uses his authority to spend more time with his brother and protect him simultaneously. Yujin can't say anything and thinks that there really must be something wrong with his brother. Your brother really loves you a lot. Yu-Yun's brother complex just happens to be worse than yours. Reporters asked Yu-Yun and Yerim to pose together for a picture, and they were also interviewed. A reporter asks how unusual it is for a Guildmaster to personally escort new recruits on their first raid. Yu-Yun smiles, saying it's rare to get a new S-ranker, so he really wants to be there, and it's the least he can do as a fellow S-ranker. Behind him, Yerim stiffly smiles at the crowd. Wow, Lil Bro also has Big Bro's acting skills. Yujin thinks this is a PR stunt, and Myung-woo hopes the people will buy it. Yujin then thinks about how Yu-Yun and Yerim make an ideal duo, since they also have contrasting elements. He imagines that if they add Myung-woo's crafting skills and Sungin's S-rank defense skills. Yujin happily smiles at the thought. It'll be a team of S-classes. Various weapons are lined out, and his staff tells Myung-woo and Yujin they can borrow weapons for free. They just have to return them afterward. Yujin is amazed by the decent lineup, while Myung-woo looks at a sword in amazement. The staff then reminds them that they have to pay for it if they break them. Jolting Myung-woo away from the weapons, Yujin looks over and can only think about how Myung-woo will make future masterpieces. Yujin guides Myung-woo to take higher-ranking weapons, since those would be sturdier, and they should also grab some potions. The staff says only registered guild members can take the consumables for free. Hearing this, Yujin tells Yerim to take the potions under her name and share them with them later. Yerim does what she's told, and the staff can't protest about it anymore. Taking advantage of loopholes. Carrying a weird-looking double axe, Yerim asks Yujin's advice on picking a weapon. Yujin asks where she found that hideous thing. Yujin tells her to pick a weapon fitting her size, since she primarily relies on her skills. Yu-Yun looks at his brother as this happens, despite being in an interview. Yu-Yun has never experienced having his brother help him out with these kinds of things. A news reporter asks Yu-Yun for comments on his outlook on Haeun's future. Yu-Yun thinks, but not about what he will answer. He's focused on how Director Siak was right about his brother knowing many things for a new hunter. With this line of thought, Yu-Yun concludes that his brother has been working extra hard in researching hunters because he was worried about him. This makes him smile brightly. And a reporter was shocked by the smile, thinking that this must be the Guildmaster's answer to his question. The reporter was excited that he told everyone to purchase Haeun's stocks before it skyrocketed. Yu-Yun walks to his brother and apologizes for keeping him waiting. I want the Haeun Guildmaster to be my brother. His conclusions make me want to do it on him. Yerim was disappointed, saying that there were now 2/3 wheels. Yu-Yun explains that they'll be entering a relatively safe E-rank dungeon with rocky terrains, and the gate will close after an hour once they enter. The dungeon will only open once the boss is defeated or if all the hunters inside perish. Yu-Yun continues, bringing out a gate stone for them to see. He says that in an emergency, they can use a gate stone, but this is very rare, with only a few in the country. Too bad Yujin couldn't bring over the gate stones he got from the defeated Rao Chi-Taz. Yu-Yun was about to continue, but he noticed his brother was looking elsewhere. Yujin remembered how he was treated like a slave in raids and hated by everyone. But now, Yujin can go on a dungeon raid with people who like him. Even his loving brother is at his side. He marvels at this change and how a dark future wouldn't come anymore. Or so Yujin thought. With a flash, Yujin and the others get transported to the dungeon. Yerim is excited to be in a dungeon. Everyone sees plains and mountains across the horizon. Yu-Yun reminds her that they're not at a picnic. He tells everyone to return, and Yu-Yun releases a fire attribute AoE attack. The attack surprised Yerim, asking what Yu-Yun was doing by setting fire to everything. You gotta love those stickmen drawing. Yerim was agitated, thinking that Yu-Yun had issues. Yujin tells Yerim to lie down and look at the scorched plains where monsters are already dead. Yerim realizes then that Yu-Yun only attacked the monsters that were hiding before. Yu-Yun then lectures about securing safety upon entering a dungeon, since no one knows what monsters are inside until you come in. This is why the strongest party member will lead in making a path. Then he reminds Yerim that this was taught in theory class. Yerim is the type to space out during class. Yerim scratches her head, saying she did learn it. She reasons that she lacks an AoE skill to let her do the same. Yujin reassures her upon hearing this, reminding her that the Awakened can get a new skill once they reach level 10. Yu Jin mentions how they have no sure way of knowing what skill will come up. He toggles on the system in front of him. It is different for Yu Jin Do, since he can choose a skill to unlock 4 of those influenced by him. That's so convenient. Yu Jin chooses Pale Rain for Yerim. This is an AoE skill that Yerim was famous for when she was known as the Ice Witch. The system then announces that Yerim's growth will focus on unlocking the Pale Rain skill. Yu Jin confidently says that Yerim will soon get an AoE skill. This makes Yerim happy, saying she'll level up to 10 in no time. Yu Yun was listening to their conversation, saying that Yerim could only wish. He explains that the experience points required to level up are vastly different for F rankers and S rankers. For an S rank, they'll require 5-fold of what F rankers are required. Yu Yun continues, saying that even if Yerim hunted all the monsters in that dungeon, she won't get anywhere near level 10. What a stoic way to burst one's bubble. Yu Yun sadly yells that his brother will be fine with his help, so Yerim should focus on her own level. This angers Yerim, and the two start arguing. Yu Jin tries to calm them down, but they won't listen. Our MC is surrounded by brats vying for the MC's sole attention. Having enough of it, Yu Jin pulls on both of their cheeks, scolding them in the process. The two point at one another, saying it's the other's fault. This only makes Yu Jin shout at them more. Yu Jin asks them what they are there for. Yu Yun says he's there to guide, while Yerim answers that she's there to hunt and level up. Still angry, Yu Jin commands them to stop fighting and focus on hunting monsters. He berates them that he can't waste his time breaking up their fights because he also has to hunt to level up. He tells them that the least they could do is pretend to get along, and if they keep fighting, he's done with them. They'll be the problem children in the classroom, while Myung Woo will be the timid child following teacher Yu Jin. This ultimatum makes the two flinch. Yerim and Yu Yun look at each other and decide to just pretend. They both reach out their hands to one another for a shake, but both are still exuding strong auras. Yu Jin sighs, saying that they'll get closer once they work together. That's dubious when you, yourself, are on the line. He then tells them to stay alert and help him and Myung Woo reach level 10. Something swooshes by as Yu Jin talks, getting the attention of both Yu Yun and Yerim. The two dash away, each claiming that he or she will be the one who helps Yu Jin. The two cause a large explosion, while Yu Jin and Myung Woo watch over them. As usual, Myung Woo is crying over the smallest of things. Yu Jin imagines that beholding the ideal duo is just a dream. In a different space filled with stairs and platforms that seem to defy gravity, someone exclaims how the guy who turned back time appears to have entered a dungeon. Another person commands him to find that guy immediately, saying they can only intervene if that guy is in a dungeon. They finally find Yu Jin, saying they were waiting for him as they call in Honey. Who are these people after our MC? Still inside the dungeon, Yerim freezes the enemies and sends them to Yu Jin's way to kill them. Yu Yun says that spears can't stab through the blocks of ice. He uses his fire skill, saying it would be easier if the monster's skin had been toasted well. Both Yu Yun and Yerim simultaneously say that Yu Jin can just stab at them to slay them. They keep on ignoring Myung Woo. Myung Woo is amazed at how Yu Yun and Yerim fight like an endless song of ice and fire. Myung Woo then realizes that Yu Jin is crouched by the monsters and asks what Yu Jin is doing. Holding a mana stone, Yu Jin explains that mana stones cost a fortune, and he is getting them from the dead beasts. Our MC needs to save as much money as he can. Raising peace costs a lot of money. Yu Jin directs Myung Woo to also stab the fallen monsters so that he can level up. Myung Woo wonders if he'll be able to get a decent skill once he levels up. Yu Jin reassures Myung Woo that he will. Yu Jin is certain that Myung Woo will be able to unlock his SS rank skill by the time he reaches level 10. Then he discovers that there is another condition to unlock it. Yu Jin looks at the system that says from leveling up to 10, Myung Woo should sharpen to 10,000 something. The unintelligible words confuse Yu Jin. While Myung Woo is glad he's gaining experience, Yu Jin remains perplexed by what he just saw. He identifies it as a typo and wonders if the descriptions were manually written in real time. Is it a bug in the system? Myung Woo finally reaches level 10, but then he slumps when he realizes that he didn't get any skill on leveling up. Yu Jin consoles Myung Woo as he considers who might be writing it. Yu Jin thinks about how the system remains shrouded in obscurity and how it can be a miracle from God. But if it is God, Yu Jin wonders if he would make a typo. Yerim points to another side, saying that must be the final area. Yu Yun then asks how many times they leveled up, Yujin answers that they're almost done. Suddenly, a system pops in front of Yujin, saying he was found. Yujin is confounded by what he sees, and the system apologizes. Oh, so those people calling in honey before are the ones who run the system. But why are they apologizing? Yu-Yun and Yurim reach out for Yujin, yelling for him to look out. Yu-Yun covers his brother, while Yurim unleashes his skill to protect them. Yu-Yun asks if his brother is alright, but Yujin instead asks what it is. Yurim says it's a boss monster. Hearing this, Yujin exclaims that a D-rank boss monster cannot use a skill like that. Although, that's bad. Is this what those people running the system are sorry for? Someone screams that the original boss, a giant ram, wouldn't be able to do it, but there's a more enormous bird-like monster that kills the giant ram. Yurim looks in horror as she asks how the gate is supposed to open now, that the original boss is dead. Yu-Yun calmly assesses the situation, saying the bird is the new boss. They would need to defeat the new boss monster to get out of the dungeon. Why would the boss monster suddenly change? Where did the new one even come from? Yu-Yun immediately determines that it might be too dangerous, since he has never seen that monster before. He tries to give the gate stone to his brother, but Yujin only pales as he sees it. Yujin's heart starts beating fast as he remembers how his brother died trying to keep him safe. He panics, thinking how Yu-Yun might choose to stay behind again when they are faced with an overwhelming monster. Please no. Yu-Yun tries to give it again to his brother, but Yujin clasps on Yu-Yun's hand, saying they won't need to use it. Yujin tells his brother that the monster is weaker than he is. Yujin identifies the monster as a Class 2 Gold-Beak Maya with a fire attribute. He says that the monster is equivalent to an A-rank dungeon boss. It uses its beak as its primary weapon, while the skull is softer than its back and stomach, making the head its weak spot. Yujin directs Yu-Yun to go for the head immediately, instead of the wings, because the monster has a spare pair. It's a good thing Yujin is a walking encyclopedia of monsters and anything hunter-related. Yu-Yun dashes toward the enemy, and Yujin reminds him to go for the head. Yurim looks at Yujin, asking Yujin if he is sure that the guild master would be okay. She suggests that she should go, since she can fly. Yujin says she'll end up in barbecues if she does. He explains how Yu-Yun has a fire-resistance skill that works well against monsters with fire attacks. He also mentions that though Yu-Yun can't fly, he already has the next best thing. Oh yeah, that skill from before. The gold-beaked Maya comes for Yu-Yun and uses its beak to stab. Yu-Yun easily dodges, and he dashes for an attack. With a slash, he easily lops off the beast's wings. You didn't listen to your older brother's instructions, Yu-Yun. Yujin screams that there's a spare pair of wings. The gold-beaked Maya flies off and breathes fire from its mouth toward Yu-Yun. Yu-Yun is unharmed, but he is clearly having a hard time. Yujin finds it odd that his brother stays on the ground when he's sure that Yu-Yun can finish it off instantly by hitting the monster's head. He imagines how Yu-Yun can use blue willow leaves instead of flying. Yujin ponders whether Yu-Yun has already unlocked the skill. Oh no, you should check Yujin. The monster suddenly turns, heading toward where Yujin and the rest are. They all were surprised and started getting anxious when this happened. Yurim keeps hold of the barrier and asks what to do now that the monster is coming their way. The gold-beaked Maya prepares and charges its fire breath attack. That is really bad. Yurim starts crying, asking Yujin if the barrier will hold. At the same time, a frantic Myung-Woo clings to Yujin's neck, making it hard for Yujin to breathe and think. This is not the time for that Myung-Woo. Desperate, Yu-Yun uses his blue willow leaves as a distraction. This effectively stops the gold-beaked Maya from continuing its attack. Yujin sees this and starts to calm down, happy that his brother can at least use the skill. Yujin starts saying it's now time to finish it, but he suddenly stops when he realizes his brother is only standing there. At least we now know that Yu-Yun can use it. Yu-Yun keeps using blue willow leaves on the beast, restraining its movements, and Yujin looks at his brother with disbelief. Yu-Yun is waving his hands around, controlling his skill, but not doing anything else to attack the enemy. Yujin calls his brother's attention and screams at Yu-Yun to step on them. Yu-Yun hears his brother, but doesn't understand the first time. Yujin yells once more, telling his brother to step on the leaves and run. Yu-Yun was shocked by the directions, but did as he was told. Yu-Yun steps on a cluster of blue willow leaves and brings up his other foot. He was initially worried, but like a little kid who found a new toy, he started doing it without hesitation. I'm tearing up. Lil Bro was really growing well. He leaps using the blue willow leaves, reaching far higher than the gold-beaked Maya. The monster charges and shoots a fire breath attack at Yu Yun. Still, Yu Yun ignores it and whooshes toward the enemy with his sword. With a loud boom, Yu Yun drops to its back and stabs the gold-beaked Maya in the head with his skill. His attack causes a big explosion, throwing Yu Yun off. Yerim kept her skill activated. Myung Woo clings to Yu Jin, while Yu Jin yells at Yerim to endure it, because she's the only one who can keep them alive. The gold-beaked Maya falls to the ground with a big thud, while Yu Yun smoothly lands on the ground, with the help of his blue willow leaves. Yu Yun looks over when he hears his brother calling for him. Our MC's little bro is the coolest. Dashing towards Yu Yun, Yu Jin asks if Yu Yun is okay. Yu Yun calls his young and grasps him, all excited. He was amazed at how his brother thought of using blue willow leaves to compensate for his lack of flying skills. Using it that way had never crossed Yu Yun's mind, and this was the answer he was looking for. Yerim can only scratch her head, letting the guildmaster gush all he wants to his brother. Yu Jin tries to downplay it, but Yu Yun is not having any of Yu Jin's nonsense. He claims he got an entirely new skill for free because of what Yu Jin suggested. Yu Jin smiles at his brother's happy face, thinking he's like a kid who got all his presents from all occasions in one go. Yu Yun repeatedly expresses how grateful he is and how his brother is the best. It is also good that you came along with them, or everyone will turn to dead meat. Yu Jin suggests that he'll look at all his brother's skills when they return. Getting to spend more time with his brother, Yu Yun immediately agrees. Yerim then asks Yu Jin to look at her skills as well. They finally exited the dungeon, and people asked if they were okay. When the dungeon's rank changed, they all got worried. Yu Yun explains the situation with Yerim by his side. Yu Jin decides to keep his distance from his brother when they're in public and decides that he'll return the gear he borrowed and go home without attracting anyone. But what Yu Jin was thinking is already impossible, because Sunghin is now running towards him. There goes the plan to stay invisible. Sunghin screams Yu Jin's name, his face mixed with anxiety. He skids to a bow, asking if Yu Jin is okay and how he should have gone together with him. Yu Jin is taken aback by this display of loyalty from Sunghin. However, he still manages to reassure Sunghin that he is okay, and everyone's attention is now on them. Sunghin tells Yu Jin to climb his back, and they'll go home to have Yu Jin rest. Yu Jin profusely refuses, saying he's fine. Behind Yu Jin, Myung Woo watches this unfold. But then, he looked down as he was thinking of something. Back in the guild, Yu Jin visits Yu Yun with some snacks and expensive liquor. Yu Jin hears the water running from the bathroom and surmises that Yu Yun is taking a bath. While waiting, Yu Jin decides to visit and play with Peace. Yu Jin opens his arms and Peace excitedly jumps to him, hitting Yu Jin's stomach hard. He played tug of death with Peace, while saying I love you to the magic beast. He also feeds Peace the luxury magic beast food with a pale face, saying I love you once more. Yes, it's the $8,000 meal, so ensure the keywords work. Yu Jin lies on the ground with Peace on top of him, hoping he somehow influenced Peace with everything they did. He smiles as he contemplates how he almost died that day and how the system is acting weird with its typo and chat. The appearance of a high-ranking monster that was supposed to happen years from now is what Yu Jin found most baffling. Yu Jin sadly sits up, unsettled about how this might affect his turning back time. He broods over what happened, but then concludes that it is none of his concern, since the system didn't make any proper explanations. Yu Jin starts complaining about the skill descriptions, grumbling about how he wouldn't have chosen such a keyword if it had been adequately explained. I guess he forgot that it was automatically set when he awakened for the second time. Yu Jin clicks his L rank skill, My Kid is the Best, and a book suddenly appears. Yu Jin gets confused with a new status window. In a different realm, various beings discuss if their intentions manage to get through. They cannot intervene long, since they force their way through the path. What would have been best to explain everything. They have to make do by adding something that would make it easy to understand. They refers the update on Yu Jin's My Kid is the best skill. Yu Jin looks at the book, where there are pictures of Yu Yun and Yerim, listed under influenced subjects with a mark of S on top of it. Yu Jin realizes that it's a role book, though with its kitty art. It looks like a kindergartner made it instead of a teacher. The system designer must be a kid. Yu Jin speculates on the system designer's intentions. He notices that the list only includes the S ranks under his influence, and Myung Woo or Sunghan are not included. In the bottom part, Yu-jin finds the number 50 with a good luck message. Yu-yun enters the terrarium room, apologizing to his brother for taking too long in the bath. He notices Yu-jin's pale face and asks about it. Yu-jin can only look at his brother as his mind surmises that the system is telling him to tame 50 S-rankers. The system just issued him a quest in the form of a rollbook. A Fang Mole is released and immediately runs forward to attack Peace. Peace easily defeats it with a single slash. Yu-jin is recording and narrating the progress of the infant Horn Flame Lion, with an application of a magic beast taming skill. He also mentions Peace's current size and weight and how it has grown twice the size in just 2 days. Our Peace is growing up well. Amazed by Peace's fast growth, Yu-jin compliments Peace. The magic beast lunges at him, but he isn't hurt like before. Yu-jin made sure to borrow some gear to raise his stamina and strength. The night before, Yu-jin discusses with Yu-yun how he got a new skill from leveling up to level 10. He says the skill is called Magic Beast Tamer. Yu-yun asks what the skill does, and Yu-jin thinks he can't really say that. He can influence everyone and everything. You can't. You'll get imprisoned if you do. Yu-jin makes light of it, explaining that it is a taming skill to help him level up monsters. He says he can train top-tier creatures because it's an S-rank skill. Hearing that it is an S-rank skill shocks Yu-yun, to the point that he grabs a rope. He lectures his young that having a unique S-rank skill is dangerous for an F-ranker, specifically Yu-jin. Uh-oh, Yu-yun's overprotectiveness is oozing out again. Yu-jin gets defensive and yells at his brother to not lock him up. It's now Yu-jin's turn to lecture Yu-yun. He tells his brother they should exploit this skill instead of hiding it. He portrays a picture of Peace becoming Yu-yun's mount and how many other S-rankers could use a mount that he can tame. This will change how hunters traverse massive dungeons and how dungeon raids are conducted. Back to the present, Yu-jin is relieved to already have Peace under his influence. He plays and trains with the magic beast, as he thinks taming monsters is way better than influencing people to fill up the 50 S-rankers list that the system requires of him. Yu-jin is already exhausted, while Peace cutely presses Yu-jin to have him play with him more. Yu-jin is already crying tears, thinking how hard it is to make a fortune. That's real life talking. He collects himself by thinking about how his actions can contribute to dungeon raids, reduce dungeon breaks, and make the world safe. Yu-jin rolls around as his conscience takes over his actions. Someone called to him while he was still on the floor. It was the director. Shimyang Siak compliments Yu-jin for his diligence in training right after he got out of the dungeon. He is also impressed by how much the Horn Flame Lion has grown in a short period after Yu-jin applied his new taming skill to it. Shimyang can't accuse Yu-jin of nepotism now. Shimyang sadly bows before Yu-jin and compliments him more. Yu-jin is appalled by Shimyang's action, but Shimyang apologizes to Yu-jin for being rude. He then went on about how Yu-jin showed his insight, analysis, and new skill. Shimyang unexpectedly grabs onto Yu-jin's waist and implores Yu-jin to join their guild. Shimyang has adopted Myung-woo's bad clinging habit. I think this is a calculated move in hopes that Yu-jin will find it in his heart to give in. Yu-jin managed to loosen Shimyang's hold on him, but Shimyang kept holding on Yu-jin's leg. Yu-jin flails around to lose Shimyang while saying a firm no. Peace looks at the two, thinking they're just playing a human version of Tug of Death. Our Peace is so cute. Yu-jin tries hard to lose Shimyang. He knows Shimyang is wrong about him, since he already saw the future. He also thinks about how he hated Shimyang in the past. Shimyang tells him to reconsider, offering to provide the monster cubs and shoulder the cost of feeding and taming the magic beasts. All Yu-jin has to do is tell them what he needs. Yu-jin considers and remembers how Shimyang doesn't know Yu-jin as the loser he was in his past life. Yu-jin can be regarded as a boss right now, and Yu-jin smugly tells Shimyang to get lost. Before, it was Yu-jin doing the pleading. Now, it's Shimyang doing it. With his nose up in the air, Yu-jin informs Shimyang that Yu-yun has already promised that he'll cover the expenses. Good job, lil bro. But he also admits that the free room and board is tempting. Latching onto straws, Shimyang immediately offers to sign a contract with Yu-jin. He was interrupted by Yu-jin, saying that while he will sign a contract, it'll be a contract of employment instead of signing as a hunter. Yu-jin shares his plan to remain unaffiliated as a hunter, to raise more magic beasts for other guilds and make money out of it. He says this while bringing Peace up into the air, twirling around. Shimyang asks Yu-jin to reconsider, but Yu-jin says it's not his problem. Heian Guild is not even the strongest guild, so considering an exclusive deal with Heian is not something he would even consider. Scratching his ear, Yujin tells Shimyeong he knows how coveted his skill is since this could multiply the efficiency of dungeon raids. He compares himself to a goose that lays golden eggs and explains that other guilds won't sit back if Heian monopolizes someone like him. That would put his adored brother in danger. Yujin is aware of the jerks who prefer trampling on the things they can't have, rather than watching others have what they don't. He also mentions that there are already people who readily poison others, and if that happens to an F-ranker like him, he'll be dead in no time. With this logic, Yujin says it's better to be independent. In exchange for raising a magic beast for each guild, they need to guarantee his safety. Of course, there'll be extra fees. Now that Yujin is already raising peace, Heian Guild has the first dibs. He'd instead be employed, have the guild's backing, and have his brother's guild manage the details with the other guilds for him. Yujin also reminds Shimyeong that he needs a monthly salary, incentive pay, and medical perks as well. Shimyeong was left agape at first, but then he laughed since Yujin had everything already figured out without any of his urgings. Shimyeong agrees with Yujin's terms and asks if he could take the training video to negotiate with the other guilds. Yujin gives his consent on this matter. Shimyeong takes the camera and asks Yujin one more question. He wants to know if Yujin will sign as a hunter with Heian Guild, if it rises as the top guild in the country. Yujin looks down, thinks of it, then asks Shimyeong if he is recording it. Shimyeong turns his head, a bit frustrated about getting caught. You can't fool Yujin. He has too many life experiences that brought him down before. Shimyeong turns to leave, but Yujin asks him what good it would be if Yujin signs with them as a hunter. Heian is already benefiting from his skill, and there's nothing more to be gained from him. Yujin smiles as he tells Shimyeong not to regret his decision. Left alone in the training room, Yujin plays with peace, happily claiming he is now getting paid monthly with his health insurance covered. He was so glad that he managed to get Shimyeong flustered. Shimyeong walks away, surprised at how Yujin has no self-awareness of how much he is worth. Shimyeong is continuously getting surprised by Yujin. Shimyeong is aware of how hunters with unique skills get drunk on power. But Yujin is different. Yujin can be arrogant, but he knows where he stands and how to negotiate a deal to his advantage. You can't compare our MC to those people. Yujin is an MC for a reason. Shimyeong contemplates how he didn't recognize this talent before. He wonders if it was because Yujin was overshadowed by his brother's accomplishments. Nope, Yujin just did an excellent job of trying to place the attention on him instead of his brother. Shimyeong thinks about how the Heian Guild is prepared to bear the risk of recruiting Yujin. But with Yujin deciding to go freelance, everyone will focus on him instead of the Heian Guild. This means he'll be the sole bearer of not only the benefits, but also the dangers that comes with it. Shimyeong questions Yujin's understanding of the consequences, which may also be Yujin's way of protecting his younger brother. Whatever the case may be, Shimyeong is sure of one thing: the Great Three Guilds, and the world will soon focus on Yujin Han. Shimyeong is sure that Yujin will quickly find out how precious he is. This guy sure thinks a lot. Different people have already received a copy of Peace's training video in other places. Are they the guild masters from the Great Three Guilds Shimyeong was thinking about? And one particular blonde guy found this interesting, that he intends to visit Heian at the earliest possible schedule. Yujin and Peace are looking at Peace's new home. Peace prowls around, and Yujin asks if he likes it. Now that Peace lives with him in the dorm, he wants to ensure it's convenient. He says they could move out when the space becomes small for Peace. You'll make you even worry if you move out of the dorms. Yerim sadly appears, asking about the cute little furry, while Myung-woo looks from the back, asking if it's a monster. Yerim was so enamored with Peace, thinking that it was a cat, but it is different for Myung-woo. He's afraid, since it is also trying to bite him. Yujin scolds Peace, saying that Myung-woo is not food. Yu-yoon arrives at this scene, asking to spare a few minutes of his brother's time. Yujin asks what it is, and Yu-yoon informs him that the other guild masters are coming to Heian to meet him. Our MC caught their attention. Now it's time to make money out of it. Yu-yoon tells his young that he can turn them down because he doesn't owe them anything. Yujin says he can't do that. Yu-yoon reminds Yujin that those guild masters are all S-rankers, and as an F-ranker, Yujin can't take them lightly. Yujin says Yu-yoon has a point. Hearing this, Yu-yoon quickly decides to turn everyone down, but Yujin stops him and reminds Yu-yoon that he is also a guild master and should act appropriately in his role. Your real intentions are appearing low, bro. Yujin enlightens his brother that the three great guild's masters are coming to Heian instead of the other way around. Heian obviously holds more power in this scene, enough reason to meet with them. For Yujin, showing up to this meeting is no big deal, and he tells Yu Yun that he doesn't want to hear any more but or even so. Yujin reminds Yu Yun that if they choose to negotiate, those guild masters would want to see it for themselves. Yujin and Yu Yun arrive in a conference room filled with people. It's showtime. The severe ambience of the room intimidated Yujin. Still, he didn't pay much attention to it, because his fear resistance was activated. Peace looks at Yujin, while Yu Yun introduces his brother to everyone in the room. A person comes close and asks for Yujin's hand. The man explains that he'll be appraising Yujin's skills prior to the negotiation. Yujin reaches his hand out, but then realizes what an appraisal really means. He swats the hand away, saying something ambiguous about carelessly holding a young man's hand. Yujin imagines how everything will turn out once people learn of his legendary and S-rank skills. Once they discover that, he has skills that can influence instead of monster taming. All he has been trying to avoid will definitely happen. He can easily see himself getting locked up by his brother and Sunghan. Why is Sunghan? Never mind. The appraiser tells Yujin that it'll only take a second, but Yujin doesn't want it. Sensing Yujin's distress, Peace leaps towards the appraiser, keeping Yujin behind him. Yujin was surprised and he tried to calm Peace down, assuring the magic beast that the man was not a bad person. That's right, you can't mess with Yujin with Peace around. The people around them start to murmur. The chairman of the Hunters Association ponders if a magic beast detected that skill would be used on its master. Sitting next to the chairman is the guild master of Hanshin Guild, Mingyu Park. He comments on how incredible it is that an infant is only at C rank, as he imagines the rank when it grows. A woman with long hair speaks up, saying that the magic beast is protective of its master, and by the looks of it, they wouldn't need to appraise Yujin's skill. She then asks for confirmation from Yujin, calling him Mr. Magic Beast Tamer. The woman is none other than Hunamoon, the guild master of Breaker Guild. She gives Yujin a seat and comments on how the young master of Heian has a reliable older brother. Yujin looks at the Breaker Guild master, wondering if Yurim will outgrow him someday. Those are weird thoughts, Yujin. Hyuna says she heard a full-grown horned flame lion is comparable to an S-rank dungeon boss. She then looks at Yu Yun and tells him to give it to her guild if he finds another cub. Yu Yun looks up from what he's reading and replies that it's not for free and they could trade if the one they're giving has frost resistance. Hyuna surmises that what Yu Yun wants is a mount for Yurim and reminds him not to be greedy. Sequan Choi, the guild master of the MKC Guild, complains about how the Heian Guild has already bought the high-tier infant magic beasts off the market. He says exchanging is out of the question when it's already hogged by Heian. Oh, so Yu Yun's guild is already buying magic beasts for his brother. Big brain move? Yu Yun smiles, saying that it can be exchanged for dungeons in this case. Sequan becomes more angry with this answer because Yu Yun is basically saying that they should listen to Heian's demands if they want mounts. He accuses Yujin's freelancer status as a scheme by Heian. Yujin can't keep quiet when he hears this accusation against his brother. He stands up and says that his relationship with Heian is a partnership. He's receiving help through them, making this meeting even possible. Yujin uses logic, asking why he would even offer his services if he's only going to side with his brother. Yujin tells everyone that there's a limit to how many monsters he can tame. He pokes Peace's cheek as he speaks. Yujin says everyone in that room is getting the first dibs on getting a top-tier mount than any other guild in the world. With Peace on his shoulders, Yujin smiles and says this is enough perk for this negotiation. Yujin can also be cool like his brother. Sequan plops to his seat with nothing to rebut. While Yujin looks at Sequan, Hyuna chooses this moment to poke Yujin on the cheek. She compliments Yujin for having the ability to tame more than monsters. Hyuna finds Yujin appealing, since Yujin has a little brother who is a guild master, a ward who is a super rookie, and a magic beast for a pet. She asks if they all come in a package and proposes to have him join the Breaker Guild. Peace stares at Hyuna with leering eyes. I imagine this is what the others would look like under Yujin's influence if they also heard this. Yujin hears this as well, and he starts blazing in black flames. Oh. Yujin notices this and immediately answers that he is not going anywhere. All he offers is his services. Hyuna asks if he's really not for sale, not even his little brother. Yujin thinks that Hyuna is a real beauty up close, but he stops himself by thinking that His brother shouldn't burn down the conference room with his flames. Trying to stop these questions, Yu Jin says that the only exception is if his brother's guild becomes the best in the country. Yu Yun is really getting preferential treatment. The blonde guy with a handsome profile smiles at these words and asks Yu Jin if the Xijiang Guild could buy him right now. The man is Hyunji Sung, the guild master of Xijiang Guild, the most powerful guild at that time. Yu Jin could not react, but knew his safety would be guaranteed if he joined Xijiang. Yu Jin wonders why Hyunji joined so late in the conversation, making the atmosphere hostile. The other guild masters looked at Hyunjae with wary eyes, but Hyunjae only kept smiling. Yu Jin wouldn't even be able to accept Hyunji's with the way things are. He just says it's only exclusive to his brother to calm things down. The guild masters paused at Dis, and the atmosphere completely changed. Hyunjae smiles, while Sukwon sighs. Yu Yun is very happy that his brother is confident in Yu Yun's ability to make it happen. Hyuna laughs loudly and smacks Yu Jin in the back, saying that Yu Jin would rather die unaffiliated. She doesn't believe that Haeyam will become #1 someday. She slaps Yu Jin on the back, saying he is stubborn like his brother. Yu Jin now feels the pressure and is glad he has the fear resistance, but he can't help comparing himself to a shrimp surrounded by whales. Yu Jin has heard how S-rankers are insane due to the life-or-death situations they've gone through, but to feel intimidation behind their smile is a whole different experience. Yu Jin is worried that his brother has been bullied all this time by these other guilds, and listening firsthand to how they treat him like a kid makes Yu Jin distressed. You can't do that to Yu Jin's brother. Mingyu decides to speak up about how Yu Yun started his own guild without knowing his place. Now he knows that Yu Yun got the traits from his older brother. Then Mingyu changes his mind, saying that Yu Jin is actually milder compared to Yu Yun. Yu Jin turns his head with a smile, asking what's wrong with his brother. Yu Jin shares how Yu Yun is a lot nicer than he is, and how out of everyone in that room, Yu Yun is the most compliant. This statement got the whole conference quiet. The Hunters Association chairman and the 4 other S-rank guild masters started sweating and murmuring with disbelief. They asked Yu Jin if he meant his words. Yu Jin became confused by their reaction and seriously wondered if anything was wrong with what he said. Why are they all so shocked? Yu Yun is really polite and good though.